Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to discuss how to start your preparation. Now, this is a very important question to be addressed before you actually dive into the preparation. If you have already seen all the previous lectures that have been recorded as a part of the introduction, you know what is the syllabus. You know how the breakup of the syllabus goes. You know what kind of questions are to be expected in prelims and mains and how many are to be expected in prelims and mains. So all these kind of things we have already seen. Now, what has to be done next is for you to understand how to actually start the preparation. And this is very, very important part for you to understand so that you can do justice to the preparation that you are doing. Now, to start the preparation, the very first thing that you need to understand is what are the parts of your preparation. Now, if you can see on the screen itself, what you'll see on the screen are three major areas that I've listed out: general studies, current affairs, and your optional subject. So if I have to divide somebody's preparation, it has always to be divided into three different parts, and these are the parts. Now, first of all, general studies. General studies is perhaps the part that will take the most amount of your time during your preparation. Then you have current affairs that needs to be done regularly, and then you have the optional subject which might take 3 to 4 months of your preparation if you are doing a regular preparation of the optional subject. Now, general studies. So first of all, what you need to do is to understand how much time should be given to each and every one of these parts. The first part being general studies, the second being current affairs, and the third being optional subject. Now, if you have just started, first of all, what you have to do is you have to see how much time do you have in your hands. Now, you might be a working professional and not have more than 4 or 5 hours of time in your hand. You might be in your colleges and you might not have more than 4 to 5 hours of time in your hand. And you might be someone who's preparing only for this examination, dedicated only to this examination, and you might have at least 8 to 10 hours of time in your hand. So you can belong to each of these categories. And one cannot say that which category of student will qualify and which category of student will not qualify. Because many a times it's a myth about this examination that somebody who's not giving 12 to 14 hours of time in a day will not qualify. That's completely baseless. Now, what happens is why such a notion has come is because of how the question paper looked maybe 6-7 years back. If you look at the question papers of 2010, or if you look at the question papers of 2004, 2005, go beyond this 1995, what you will see is it was a question paper where a lot of mugging up was required. It used to be a question paper where a lot of fact knowing was required. And it used to be a question paper where a lot of books had to be read. And you had a very short amount of time. So obviously, what you had to do is to study for more than 12 to 14 hours. Not also to forget is that you had two optional subjects at that point of time. So now, as you know, you have just one optional subject. So obviously, because of all these reasons, what used to happen is you needed at least 10 to 12 hours of time every day if you wanted to crack this examination. But that is not true anymore. Now what happens is if you look at the question papers, whether prelims or mains, they have tried to make it a level playing field. They don't want that the students who have been mugging up for 4-5 years, they should be the ones to clear, but someone who has a clarity of thought, who knows the subject in and out, should be able to crack the examination. So that's why the questions have now become more analytical in nature rather than being fact based. So because of all these changes that have happened, this has been the reason why somebody who's preparing even for 4 to 5 hours a day would be able to crack the examination now, which was not the case earlier when I go 10 years back. So that's why if you are in a college, if you are studying, or if you are working somewhere, you should not be disheartened, or you should not think that it's not possible for you to do it. Because look at the examples, look at the rank holders. The rank holders of each and every year will come from all these three categories. They could be the ones who are working and preparing, they could be the ones who have been in colleges and preparing, and they are from the ones who have been dedicated only to this examination. So that's why you have to understand you can belong to one of these categories and still be able to crack the examination without any problem. And not only qualify, but get a very good rank. Now, what you need to understand is how do you divide this time? You always have to understand that general studies, or short form being GS, takes the most amount of time of your preparation. So let's say you have 4 hours of time. In 4 hours of time, I would always want you to give at least 2.5 hours of time to general studies. And the rest of the time has to be given to current affairs. So current affairs will take 1.5 hours of time and your general studies will take 2.5 hours of time. This could be an ideal division. But what you have to realize is current affairs is something that will automatically take 1.5 hours every day. So what you need to do is that keep aside 1.5 hours and then start doing the calculation. You may have 5 hours of time in your hand, you may have 8 hours of time in your hand, you may have 10 hours of time in your hand. But 1.5 hours every day needs to go to current affairs. And this is the first pitfall. This is the first area where we see students struggling, because the general tendency is that I'll complete history, I'll complete geography, I'll complete polity, I'll complete environment, but I'll keep current affairs aside for maybe next May, maybe next April, maybe next March. And in the last 1.5, 2 months, I'll complete everything with respect to current affairs. This cannot happen. If you think that this will help you in clearing the examination, it will not. It will make the preparation even more difficult. Because at this point of time, you might be thinking from prelims point of view, but be very clear in your minds that you don't have to clear prelims. You have to clear this examination. You have to clear prelims, you have to clear mains, and then you have to clear the interview. Clearing only prelims will not matter. So that's why if you do only last 1 month or 1.5 months of current affairs, it is not going to help you, because yes, fact wise, you may be able to mug up the facts, you may be able to see whatever happened, but analysis wise, you have very little time after that to be able to complete the current affairs portion. So that's why make it a habit that at least 1 to 1.5 hours of time is going into current affairs every day, right? So this is the very first thing that you have to ensure. How to do that? We'll have a discussion on that in a very short while from now. Second being general studies. Now, apart from 1.5 hours, as I said, all the time that is left with you has to go to general studies initially. But there definitely are some of you who have extra amount of time in your hand, and this is where I would say that if you do, start giving 2 hours of time to optional subject. Suppose you have 6 hours of time in your hand. In that case, 2 hours go to the optional subject, 1.5 hours goes to current affairs, and 2.5 hours goes to general studies. If you have 8 hours of time, 2 hours go to your optional subject, 1.5 hours goes to your current affairs, and 4.5 hours go to your general studies subject. So like this, the division needs to happen. For the students who do not have this much amount of time, ensure that general studies and current affairs currently is happening in a very good manner. You are doing it very sincerely every day, because after a while you will start making time. After a while you will see that you are able to get some extra time, or if not, you have been able to clear a lot of syllabus, so that now you can dive into the optional subject also. And then at that point of time, what you would have to do is that you give some time to the optional subject which you take out from your general studies time. So this is what needs to be done. But don't forget, even for the students who are working, for the students who are preparing while being in the college, you have something called as Sundays. And many of you have offs on Saturdays. You have to make up time on these 2 days. Every bit of the lost time has to be made up during Saturdays and Sundays, or whenever you have a week off, whenever you have a holiday, you have to ensure that you are making a use of this lost time. Now, there could be other ways of making use of lost time. How? You have your mobile phone, you have your laptops. Let's say you are traveling towards your office, you are traveling towards your college. Open your mobile phone. Try to read the current affairs that we are providing. Try to read the comprehensive news analysis that is happening every day. Try to watch the webinars if possible. Because if you are able to do all these things, you are actually saving on time and you are adding on to the preparation time. I'm not saying that while traveling you should read the tablet. That's not a good idea, because when you are reading from the tablet, I would always want you to be at your study place, make notes if possible, So that's why while traveling, if you want, you can, yes, go through the lectures just for revision for something that you have already completed. But something which is very new for you, I would not suggest that you read it while traveling if you cannot make notes out of it. So while traveling, current affairs can definitely be done either through the student portal or through the CNAs that are being provided, or you can download the monthly magazine that we have provided and read it while you are traveling or while you are not at your study place, because all these things will add up to the time that you have for your studies, right? So these are the three parts of your preparation: general studies, current affairs, and optional subject. At least 1 to 1.5 hours every day will go to current affairs. How? We'll have a discussion on that. General studies will take up at least 2.5 to 3 hours every day. How to do that? We'll have a discussion on that. And then finally, the optional subject. How to choose an optional subject? We have already cleared that doubt. So what the optional subject is, depending on that, you can start your preparation accordingly. Now, let me discuss a very important part, and that is the sources that you have to use. Now, with the tablet course, what we have done is, you all are aware of the fact that you have the tablet and you have the books that have been provided for each and every subject. So, if we divide the sources that you have, let us first start from general studies. Now, general studies, what you have to do is start with the tab. Any lecture, any subject that you're looking at, see, there could be a notion that should I read the NCRTs, because many of the people are telling me to start from the NCRTs and then only do something. Please don't do that. Why I'm telling you? Because most of the times when we are recording any lecture for any subject, the most sincere effort is being made to ensure that nobody has to have any background. That is, even if somebody is starting from level 0, even if you feel that you don't know anything about polity, you don't know anything about economy, even then you should be able to clear each and every part of the syllabus without having to refer to anything else. There is an effort that has been made by each and every faculty here, so that you don't have to have a background, you don't need to have something which has already been done and then you are coming to the tablet. No. What you have to do is start from the lectures directly. And once you are done with the lectures, then only look at the other sources that you have. So the very first source that you have to use is the tablet. Now, once you are done with the tablet or you are done with a certain chapter, go to the book. Go to the book that has been provided for that particular lecture and then read the book according to the chapter that has been given. Now, what needs to be done here, how to do that, we'll have a discussion on that. So the sources for you would be these two primarily. Now, when it comes to book, you know that already the standard books which are required for history, geography, polity, economy, environment, other subjects, everything has been provided to you. So the book list that we have compiled, we have made sure that these are the best available resources and these should be enough for any student to clear the examination. So that's why the tablet has to be the primary source and the book along with that for that particular subject has to be the secondary source for you for that subject. Now, after that, do I need to go to other sources? Let me give you an example for this. Modern history. I'm just jotting down the sources that you have for modern history. You have History of Modern India by Bipin Chandra. You have a Brief History of Modern India by Rajiv Ahir. You have From Plassey to Partition by Sekhar Bandyopadhyay. Then Modern India by Sumit Sarkar. A New Look at Modern Indian History by B.L. Grover. So at least 5 good books are available. Now what happens is when you start looking for sources, there is no dearth of sources that you have in the market. It's not only true for modern history, you would have n number of sources for each and every subject that you have to read. But you have to understand that 80% of the content of most of these books probably will be the same. Just that they will be presented in a different manner. And when they are presented in a different manner, it becomes very difficult for you to be able to follow 2 books simultaneously. Let me give an example. One with Bipin Chandra and the second with A New Look at Modern Indian History by B.L. Grover. Now, when you look at modern Indian history by Bipin Chandra, everything has been arranged according to the period that the things happened. But when you go to B.L. Grover's book, what you find there is that they have discussed everything according to a topic. So they will take a topic and they'll discuss everything of that topic starting from the beginning up to 1947. But when it comes to Bipin Chandra's book, this is where we find that everything has to be written according to the chronology. So that's why somebody who tries to follow these two books simultaneously, it's impossible for you to do so. And secondly, you are not adding anything to the information that you already have. So that's why even after doing so much, you are not actually gaining anything. Moreover, what happens is sometimes there will be a question or two which will not be present in any of the books. So what happens is, for example, there was one question that was asked in 2016 prelims. And this question was not there in Bipin Chandra's book. It was not there in Rajiv Ahir's book. These two used to be the most popular ones. And all of a sudden it was found that this is a question that was present in Sumit Sarkar's book. So all of a sudden what happened is some of the websites started to tell you that this is the book that you should read. Many of the students started to suggest that, see, one question came from here, so that's why you should read this book. Now, these kind of things are wrong, because you don't have to look at that one question that came from one random resource, but rather than that, what you should do is you should ensure that rest of the 10-12 questions that come from that topic, they have been taken care of. Now what happens? Let's say you start reading Modern India by Sumit Sarkar, which is actually a very good book to read. But there is a shortcoming. And what's that shortcoming? The shortcoming is that it takes care of only 1885 to 1947 period. So it does not take care of Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, all the socio-religious reform movements, 1857 revolt, all these kind of things are not present in this book. So you are gaining that one question that was asked, but you are actually losing out on at least 3 or 4 questions that would be asked from the period between 1700s up to 1885. So this is the problem. We start to look at that one question that was very difficult to answer and was not present in many of the books. And it often happens with many students that you go to that particular source that had one question. Now, there is no bonus marking for any question, right? You are not getting any extra marks if you are doing that one question and leaving all the 10 others. So that's why you have to pick the sources wisely. And that's why what we have done is one standard source that would be enough for a given subject. We have already provided you that. And that's why a book like Lakshmikant is being provided to you. That's why History of Modern India by Bipin Chandra is being provided to you. That's why Ram Sharan Sharma's book is being provided to you. And this is the reason that why we are doing all this, to ensure that something that needs to be done to cover the syllabus properly has been given to you already. So for general studies, you have to ensure that you complete the lectures from the tablet and you read the relevant portions from the book that has been provided to you. At least this much has to be done. If you want additionally, yes, NCERTs can be read. If you want, after finishing the lectures, after that you can go to the NCERTs and you can read them. Especially in the case of, I would say, geography. In case of geography, if somebody is reading the NCERTs from class 6 to class 12th, it will help you a lot. And that's why, as a part of the lectures that have been given to you, the very last lecture that we have covered is the class 6 to 12th NCERT book. So that you don't have to make an extra effort, that has been done for you from here itself. So that's why for geography, yes, I could say that it is a very important resource, but for most of the other subjects, even if you don't read the NCERTs, it is still fine. If you are completing the lectures and if you are completing the book that has been provided to you. So this is about the sources for your general studies part.